Absolutely.
If we want change, we can truly make it happen. Sandy speaks.
Witnesses said at about 12:10 on Thursday, March 20, 1975, that morning, David was arrested on the side of Carey's Supermarket on Foreman and Frank Street in South Dallas. Jumped from the police car and ran with handcuffs behind his back for about 20 yards, screaming, "They're going to kill me." Then he fell because his beltless pants came down and tripped him. A witness stated that one of the officers raised David up with a flashlight under his throat and that they must have choked him pretty good because he was limp. David was dragged back to the police car. All this time, David did not have a shirt on. Witnesses and even police agreed to this at this point. Another witness stated that one of the cops said, "I busted my pants running after that effing Nigger." And that the other cop laughed. Another witness said that the officer kicked and beat David. David was transported to the city jail. Now, who knows what happened on the way? About 2 a.m., David called his mother and told her he was in jail, that he had been kicked and beaten and needed by the policeman and needed a doctor. Now, David was crying and he was hurt. By the time the mother called back, they said that David was not even in the hospital, in the jail at the time. That they did not have a David Walker listed. Thereafter, about 5 a.m., officers showed up at her home and said that David was deceased and that he had hung himself in jail.
It never occurred to me that they were going to kill me.
In his book, Crime in America, former Attorney General Ramsey Clark wrote, "When you put poor education, poor employment, poor housing, and poor health on the map, and then put high crime on the map, you've marked the same place every time. We breed our crime." Is the ghetto. It covers less than 1/10 of the city, but contains most of the rape, murder, burglary, robbery, and assault. And most of it is black crime. In 1972, blacks were involved either as perpetrators or victims in almost 2/3 of all violent crime. Drive through the narrow streets in the major crime belt here, along Hall Street near Roseland. You pass the Busy Bee Cafe, the Red Door, Black Gale's Domino Parlor, the Congo Club, the Ascot Room. This is the pastime sanctuary for the men who consume barbecue, hot links, Ripple, and Thunderbird wines. So why is it also the sanctuary for most of the city's crime?
You have more people on the street. You have more people in this area than you do have in the other areas of Dallas. I'm sure that would account for part of the statistic.
To hear Chief Don Byrd describe them, you'd almost think the four were getting promoted rather than fired. Larice Baker, 14 years on the force. Albert Haskins, another 14-year vet. Leon Knowlton, 6 years of service. Calvin Howard, 5 years. Byrd said all had good records. They were, in his words, outstanding police officers. But Byrd said he dismissed them because payroll records indicate they were paid by both the Dallas Housing Authority and the police department for work on the same day.
That, to me, is where you draw the line. Apparently taking money that they weren't properly due. And that was the breaking point.
2 other officers received suspensions, 2 letters of reprimand, 1 resigned during the investigation, and 1 has been cleared by Byrd, though federal officials continue a separate probe. The U.S. Attorney is looking into possible federal fraud violations growing out of the DHA scandal, but there may be other repercussions as well. 10 of the 11 officers involved were black, and the city, already undermanned in the police department, has had problems in the past recruiting sufficiently qualified minority applicants. But Chief Byrd didn't seem concerned with that today. As he put it, however it affects what it affects will just have to happen. Jim Ruddy, Eyewitness News at Dallas Police Headquarters.
Killed him. I said, we'll try to find out who. But come to find out that they tried to make it look like he killed his own self by tying his belt around his neck to the bars. Well, everybody knows. They take your belt, your shoestrings, and everything. But I called my cousin Fred when he came over and stuff.
Now, who is Fred?
Fred is my cousin.
Fred who?
Fred Bell.
And who do we know him as that now? Fahim Mika.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he came over, so he went down. When he went down, he came back to the house and he said, I don't know how he got the information, but he came back and said, David was beaten to death. Said he had a busted spleen, and he died from that. It wasn't no choke. He wasn't choked out of nothing, but he was bruised, beat up and bruised, and they busted his spleen.
Yeah, because I moved back to Texas from Minnesota in the summer of 1972. 1972. So I was living in West Texas, Odessa, Midland. But prior to that time, I'd had the pleasure of meeting Brother Fahim. He was very active over at Arlington State College. And so I was active in terms of the changes that came about at East Texas State University of Commerce. And so we would communicate by phone, and then we would visit. I'd go over to to Arlington State, and then he would come over to East Texas State University. And so, but anyway, and his big push then had to do with the fact that Arlington State College at that time, their mascot and everything centered around Robert E. Lee. Robert E. Lee, and then of course Dixie was a fight song that was played, and so Brother Fred Bell, as I knew at that time, Fred Bell and other leaders, they were fighting that. I graduated from college. I lost contact, but I never forgot him in terms of his tenacity and his dedication and his focus to make a difference for our people. And maybe a lot of folks don't know his story, and perhaps they don't care. Perhaps they don't care about what happened to Mr. Taylor back in 1975, because this was the late 60s during my contact with Brother Bale.
Yafael Balagoon Shamsuddin, that's my name. My father.
What does that mean?
Yafael means bold, Balagoon means protector. It's a Yoruba term. And Shamsuddin is my family name, which means faith.
We're doing for Fred Bell, Fahim Minka. You got a lot of young people right now that they understand the fact that they're trying to erase our history. So we have people like this young man here and Mr. Tav and other people that's trying to keep it alive.
Yeah.
All right. So I appreciate you. So talk to us a little bit about what you're doing, sir.
Well, first and foremost, I come here as a student because I definitely want to learn as much as I.
Absolutely.
If we want change, we can truly make it happen. Sandy speaks.